presentación para buscar Matrícula de Honor de dirigido por Iván Alcalde, ClimbIt, herramienta para gestionar y verificar el proceso del progreso en rocódromos. Adelante.
Oh, welcome everybody. Today, Iván and myself, Ignacio, we're going to showcase our project called ClimbIt. First, let's do a small introduction. Climbing is a sport that has experienced a huge growth in Spain during these 8 years. There's numerous modalities in which we focused on the biggest one, that's indoor climbing. Well, the objective of climbing is to complete routes. Routes are a set of holds that share the same color, and there's different types, like boulders and sports bikes. They normally have a sign, a level of difficulty that indicates how complicated they are to complete. It's also important to know that in climbing gyms, the routes are changing constantly. This is thanks to help the work of the route setters. Like any other sports, climbing has a set of problems. Like that the progression is extremely slow. This generates long plateaus of stagnation to the users. Also, the progress tracking is normally done manually, which is tedious. And being an individual sport, there's room for improvement on the feelings of motivation and competitivity. Based on these problems, we decided to build our solution called Climb, which is a mobile-first web application compatible with all types of devices. It allows the users to track the climbing sessions, and with this data generate statistics to let them view their progression. Combining all of this with the gamification system applied to sports, like the Vídeo system, and social ecosystem, we managed to get these feelings of motivation and competitivity we're looking for in the users. The main pillar of application was the user-centered design. This has allowed us to focus all of our efforts in implementing functionality that gives a real value to the end user. This was thanks to the implementation of techniques like the value proposition canvas, the user story map, the personas technique, and most importantly, the user testing. To maximize the number of iterations we did with real users, we decided to implement agile methodologies, which allowed us to manage the requirements dynamically and also increase our productivity. This was thanks to the implementation of the basis of Scrum, the continuous evaluation of progress, and the implementation of DevOps techniques that allowed us to deploy the application that we used in the user test. Now we move on to the front-end architecture. We can divide it in 4 main points. ClimbIt is a single-page application for improvement on the efficiency of the UI. Also, it's a progressive web app, making it compatible with Android and iOS devices. Also, it's an offline-first application because in a lot of our climbing gyms, the connectivity is not very good. And it has an MVC architecture for the segregation of responsibilities. Now we move on to the zones and the routes. As we can see in the left interfaces, we have a central view of the rock climbing gym, in which if we pinch and zoom in, we can see our state in each individual route. Also, additionally, we have a card-based search system to access the routes even faster. Once you access a route, you can change its state between flash, that's completed on the first try, normal completion, and pilot. If you have completed the route, you can evaluate it with a 5-star rating. Now we move on to the gym management. This is a critical aspect for our application, because if the route setter finds it tedious to update the application, ClimbIt will lose all its functionality. This is why we decided to implement an easy and intuitive way of creating, modifying, and deleting routes. We also did an interface for the gym profile in which we showcase information like the location and the schedule.
Now, talking about the profile of the users, we know that customization is a critical point to engage users in the app. So we just implement a unique nickname system. Biography you can complete as you want, and a pool of image you can choose to your profile image. And to follow your progression in the app and the client, we implement also a few global statistics and concrete statistics inside the climbing gyms to see your progress in the climbing gyms you are visiting. Now, social is a critical point of climb because it's an individual sport. So we decided to implement a complete ecosystem of social where you can compete and compare your progress with your friends. And gamification, we use the legal system with the points and leaderboards to create monthly rankings where you compete with your friend list. Since the beginning of the project, we know we want to maintain climate, so we need to create strong and scalable system. So we decided to implement an escalada architecture and a strong relational database for setup. We also implement efficient multimedia pipelines to manage files, and we know we are working with real users, so we need to protect this data. So then we implement a strong security measures. Now moving to the user testing, we divide it into phases. The first, we test the prototype with a little set of users, and we prioritize the functionality we implement in the MVP. When it was finished, we test with more users in real languages. We work together with what we got, we get it in our wages, and the training team of Vídeo. The first phase will consist of a few interviews with the users, and with the feedback, we prioritize the functionalities we implement in the MVP. When it was implemented, if we start the second phase, it was beyond 2 weeks with the users using as they want. In the beginning of the second phase, we noticed that some people have problems to install the app from the browser, so we decided to upload it in the Play Store to help them to install it. When finished, we give them a form with quantitative and qualitative questions, and the feedback was very, very positive. With the quantitative metrics, we obtained that the app navigation and the feature we implement was so satisfying for the users, and with the qualitative questions, we plan the future work for the app. We want to improve the social gamification points, enhance the attend long and the history with more data to give them more useful statistics, and for the root centers, we will implement a full dashboard to manage the games and the possibility to clear events and interlinks for the players. Talking about the app, we want to enhance the user experience, improve the performance of the app, and add more learning things to our catalog. Now, talking about our individual contributions, at the beginning of the project, we work together in the system and architecture design, and then we further divide our responsibilities. Was responsible for the backend and database implementation, social, profile and statistics in frontend, and the software testing and quality. I was responsible too of evaluate the results of the real user tests and to implement the project security configuration.
Moving on to my personal contributions, together with Iván, I designed and implemented the system architecture. I was also responsible of the methodology and the user-centered design implementation. On the front-end side, I was responsible for the development and deployment of the views for the zones, routes, and content. And also, I was responsible for implementing the ClimbIt app in both real content. Finally, I set up the DevOps and CI/CD infrastructure, and finally, I managed the official launch on Google. Well, we reach our conclusions. We have determined we've completed all of our objectives in a way that we've built a strong and scalable system that has been deployed into real environments. As a guarantee, we've gotten a grade of recommendation of 100% on the root setter side and almost a 98% on the planner side, making ClimbIt a real solution for both parties. Thank you, everybody, and is there any questions?